A couple people asked for a hideout tutorial, so here goes. It's actually kind of hard to make a tutorial on how to build a great hideout in AC Shadows, mostly because it's super subjective. So before I sat down to make this guide, I watched a ton of hideout tour videos from other players. These 5 tips that I'm about to give you encompass the good and the bad that I saw in those videos. It's basically everything I experienced distilled down to 5 tips that'll make any hideout better. So hang out for a few minutes and I'll show you how to turn this into this. So on to number 1, and this isn't one of those douchey videos that puts the most important tip last to force you into watching the whole thing. Honestly, you could watch just the first tip and then block me and you'd be totally fine. Anyway, the first tip is symmetry. If you want your hideout, or really anything, to look good, it has to be symmetrical. Fortunately, Yubi made that part somewhat easy with this grid tool. I'll do an example to explain. I'm going to connect the main building to a side building with these cool covered walkways called Engawa, except pretend I pronounced that right. We can use the grid to count the squares. I'm going to use 2 3-square straight Engawas and 1 4-way junction Engawa for a total of 9 squares. Always make the total number of squares you're going to use an odd number so there's a single centerpiece. Now we can hop over to the right side to do the exact same thing. We're just going to make a mirror image of the left side to balance out the whole hideout. If you've taken organic chemistry, think about the concept of chirality. And also stop thinking about Orgo. It's over, you're safe, it can't hurt you anymore. And now just continue this basic premise of symmetry and mirror images to finish all of the buildings in your hideout. And that's actually a pretty good segue into the second tip, which is about adding furnishings by size from large to small. This is a really self-explanatory step. Buildings are the biggest, so do those first. The different types of grounds you can put in are the second biggest, so they go second, and so on. This is because if you put a bunch of items that take up just a single square, I guarantee you'll have to delete them because something bigger and more integral needs to go where they are. Plus, the smaller items are largely decorative. It would be like hanging wall art in a building that doesn't have a roof on it yet. Alright, on to the next tip, and I don't have a good segue here. Sorry, English teachers. And the third tip is even simpler than the second one, and it is to use the area drawing tool, which is a huge time saver. You can delete items with this as well, and it's just a great way to maintain the symmetry that we established at the beginning of this video. I also like to put these ground types under the buildings as well, just to make it look a little bit more natural. Alright, on to the next tip, which is about connectable versus non-connectable rooms. Most of the hideouts I saw when I was researching for this video were awesome, but the few that weren't all shared a single flaw. They were just like a collection of cascaded, unconnected rooms, and just like a total mess. There are actually only a couple rooms that can't be connected, namely the tea room and the dojo. These rooms are absolutely essential because of the buffs they bestow, but they can make your hideout look like a mess if you don't pre-plan where you're going to put them. I put the dojo at the far back of the hideout and the tea room to the far right, but you could put them anywhere that looks good to you. Alright, and on to the last tip, which is kind of a big one, finding furnishings. By the way, in the background, the gameplay now is the finished hideout that I was building to make this tutorial. You can see the full video of this on my page. Alright, back to finding furnishings. This could be a topic for multiple standalone videos if I weren't lazy and super addicted to goddamn Genshin Impact. But since I absolutely am those things, I'll try to give a generalized overview of how you get furnishings that you see in this video. Most, if not all, come from just 4 sources: buying from vendors, finding in chests, from quests, and finally from the exchange. There are a bunch of videos that show where the vendors are, and you'll likely find all of them naturally. If you care at all about building your hideout, which you obviously do if you're still watching, just make sure you always have enough mon to buy any and every furnishing you see, so you don't have to go back later. The prospect of finding the randomly located furnishing in the game's open world might seem daunting, but it's actually the easiest one. There are a finite number of furnishings that you can find in chests. You'll know you found them all when you open like 3 to 5 chests in distinct locations without getting a single furnishing. Only a few furnishings come from quests. The one I remember off the top of my head was some of the late game Junjiro quests. And finally, the exchange is a rotating mini store where you can buy items that are usually only available via the microtransaction currency called Helix credits. But in the exchange, you can buy things with a currency that you can earn in the game. And that is it for the tips. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything I didn't cover, or if you'd like instruction on how to build like one specific thing. And also, if you enjoyed building the hideout in this game, or you like doing it in other games, I would highly suggest you play the game Elder Scrolls Online. It is like these hideouts but on steroids, super intricate, by far the best housing system in any game I've ever played at least. Thank you again for watching, and if you have a really cool hideout that you'd like to show off, don't hesitate to link to it in the comments here.